intimacy. He wants them to be a partner and to work, to I'm not even sure what word I'm trying to say, is to be a partner in sexual intimacy. It's not lopsided, where the husband's always the one asking or initiating it. A husband often struggles with feelings of inadequacy or failure. If you just look at kind of our whole society, that's really true for men and women. We put these movie stars up on a pedestal and looks and Hollywood, and so there's just feelings that can develop in the sexual intimacy realm of inadequacy and failure. A husband gets discouraged when his wife does not express her passion for him. That kind of relates to the first one, where they just want the wife to be involved and to have the same passion about the intimacy. This was a quote that I found really interesting. This is the major draw of pornography, is that pornography depicts a female pursuing a man, and that that is one thing that triggers in a man's mind, is that passion of the woman pursuing the husband. And so that's a major draw into pornography. A husband feels as if he's not important to his wife when she doesn't take time to make love. That's kind of, everything else is more important than sexual intimacy. Dealing with the kids and keeping up with the housework, and it gets late, and sure enough, everyone's tired and there's no time for intimacy. And so that can come across as the husband feeling not important. A husband becomes concerned when life situations interfere with his interest in sex. It's one of those that if things just get overtaken, you have a bunch of kids and your schedules are such, and maybe you work different hours, a second shift versus first shift, and you never see your wife. In a man's mind, that can extend for years and years, and they start thinking, okay, we're never going to get back to where we have a strong, intimate life together. When a husband's need for sexual intimacy is not met, he feels rejected as a person. This is part of the way guys are wired, is they express love through sexual intimacy, and when that's not forthcoming, then that is interpreted as a rejection of me as a person, if we're not having intimacy. He shuts down or pulls away. You've probably all experienced some of that, where the intimacy's not there, and you just sort of don't get along that well, or that's just kind of the way guys are wired. He looks elsewhere to get his needs met. This is a major temptation. With the proliferation of pornography that's out there, the ease of access, the internet, when that need is not met within the marriage, then the temptation is to get that need met elsewhere. And that's a major source of temptation for a man. Meeting your husband's need for sexual intimacy. The first thing to do is to talk to God about the issue. It's probably better to talk to God than talk to your girlfriends or talk to other people who may not give you the right view of how to view your particular situation within your own marriage. Start with your own heart. Don't just say, I can't do that, or my husband has too high expectations, I could never live up to that. You got to look into your own heart, ladies, to develop the desire to meet that need before God will enable you to overcome whatever issue is in your intimacy within your marriage. Learn what satisfies your husband. There's a book by Kevin Leman called Sheet Music. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's just more of a very practical guide to sexual issues within a marriage. Also, I'm going to give you at the end of this a website that talks very frankly about sexual issues in a Christian environment. There's tons of other books out there that talk about sexual intimacy, but you probably need to stay within the confines of a Christian, just because the Christian books will look at it from a God viewpoint and not from what the world would say. And commit yourself to meet his needs. Remember, it's never too late to get started on a better sexually intimate relationship. And this was another great quote from the book that I was reading. The greatest way to affair-proof your marriage is to have sex with your husband. Is that it's so tied up in the way a husband views the marriage that it's important to keep sexual intimacy in its proper role within the marriage. It's also funny, if you remember Ed Young of Fellowship Church. He made national news a few months ago, and he issued the 7-day challenge and issued his entire congregation to have sex 7 days in a row and then see how your marriage is after that week. And it's really, it's a major part of a man's need to feel accepted and loved, and that's how he expresses intimacy is through the sexual intimacy. All right, number 3 for a man is companionship or friendship. I need you as my most trusted companion. If you look at Genesis, God created the woman specifically to be the companion of the husband. She was created from his own body. And so God knows that there's this deep need of a husband to feel that his wife is a trusted companion. What does your husband need in a friendship with you? First, he needs you to have realistic expectations. One of the things that we got to be careful, and there's kind of a movement for this, the husband to be a knight in shining armor and to be a warrior and be a man's man. And you know what? Ladies, you need to set realistic expectations for your husband. You know, there's times they're just not going to come through for you, you know, and it's unrealistic to think that the husband will always be that rescuing knight in shining armor. It's just not a realistic expectation. The second thing is he needs you to speak the truth in love. Men need the tough subjects brought up within your marriage. A lot of times it's difficult for a man to initiate them. If there's a conflict with the kids or you really need to talk about it, it's okay for the woman to bring up the tough subjects. But it needs to be in love, not in an accusatory type of way, but to bring up some sort of, bring out the truth so that the husband can deal with the issue. He needs you to be forgiving. Once an issue is settled, it's forgiven, then it needs to be forgotten. That's kind of Dennis's whole thing with when you get into a conflict, women get historical, you know, start bringing up things from the past. If it's dealt with, you both come to a resolution, then it should be not brought up again. In fact, we're going to talk about that in a couple weeks when we get on to the way we communicate and how to argue. That's one of the major things is get it settled and then move on. It doesn't need to be brought up again. He needs you to be honest. Honesty and open communication is vitally important, and the husband needs to know your honest opinion. If you really think of a better way to do it, it's okay to discuss it. The husband isn't always right, and so you need that open, honest communication. He needs you to enter his world. Enter his world. And that's really talking about seeing things from the other person's viewpoint. You know, if he's the primary breadwinner in your family, if he's got stresses at work and is trying to work more hours in order not to get laid off, You need to understand why he's not spending so much time with the kids, for example, or to view things from his standpoint and to see things and enter the world that he lives in order to know how to relate to why he's acting or the way he is dealing with a particular situation. How can you meet your husband's friendship needs? First is to let your husband know you want to be his best friend. It seems like something that's kind of a given, but that's not always the case. Do you want to be that best friend to your husband? Make your relationship a safe place for your husband to face his pain. Men deal with issues with today's economy and the financial stresses, job losses. There's a lot of issues men are facing. And if he knows that he can go into his wife and talk about really how he's feeling about the security with his job, or he needs to know that that's a safe place, that has one person that he can share anything with, and that she will continue to be his friend. Be willing to love sacrificially. That's kind of God's commandment, is for us to love each other as we love ourselves. Find oneness in the growing seasons of life. That's where we want to, as you grow older together, is to keep the oneness of your vision of what you want your life to be like in 5 years. Tanya kind of hates it when I ask her that question, but, where do you see us in 5 years? Or what do you want, once the kids are gone, what do you think we'll do? Or, aware of what the other person is thinking so that you can, that's just part of keeping a strong friendship. Okay, number 4, encouragement and affirmation. Cheer me on and believe in me. There's a verse in Hebrews chapter 10 that just talks about keeping your faith in your husband. They're going to make mistakes, but that doesn't mean they're going to make the same mistake next time. Is to keep encouraging them and to keep responding as they lead the family. Encouragement and affirmation are not only for the kids. Men like to hear that they're doing a good job. They like to verbally hear you say, thank you for the hard work that you do. It's not just for our young kids to hear that. We men like to be encouraged as well. How to encourage your husband. Encourage him to hear the applause. For a Christian man, the applause from heaven is God's approval, and that is essential.